Quite the thing back then. Hey, folks, it is November the 16th, and we're talking about chapters 78 79. Once again, this has to do with English history, but with a focus on the strengthening of monarchies and also the modern nations. So the terms we have on the board are Henry II, the royal court, circuit judges, jury trial, grand jury, common law, Magna Carta. So this is a time where we're going to see a lot of things like legal precedent from France come to England, but then it's going to take on its own English changes that's going to eventually transfer down to America. So, all right. So the grandson of William the Conqueror. If you'll remember, William the Conqueror was Duke of Normandy, so he was under the King of France. But because he was such a strong noble, he was able to invade England for reasons we discussed earlier and become King of England. His grandson, Henry, is going to his father is going to have strong ties to the French crown. And so this is going to cause a new family line called the Anjou, or what was called Plantagenet. Is that what his family name was? Yeah. And so the thing is about Henry, not only is he going to inherit all of Normandy, he's also going to inherit all of England. And then we're going to see that after the King of England passes, he's going to have almost all of France. After the King of France passes, he's going to have almost all of France too. So for a very short period of time, the King of England is essentially, he's not going to be the King of France, but he's going to rule almost all of France. Yeah.
Didn't him and his brother go to England, try to retake the throne, and then Godson poked his brother's eye out with
I don't remember. I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to say something. I don't want to be like, yeah, of course. And then I'll have to check on it. But I do know that Henry's actually going to spend most of his life in France. And this isn't going to be the only time where you're going to see the ruler of England is actually not going to stay in England all that long and have hardly any connections to the English people. And so you're going to put that up for a minute. And so because he spent so much time in France, he's going to bring a lot of French reforms to England, just like his grandfather did. And a lot of that has to do with like legal manners. Remember, I told you that one of the things that we get in the English language from the French are words that have to do with the court system and with our governments, right? So like juror, judge, plaintiff. These are prosecutor. These are all words that we inherited from the French. And so like the royal court, this is like the high court, kind of like our Supreme Court, you could think of it. Circuit judges, we still have that today in Texas. A circuit judge is like where you have a professional judge who goes from one place to another. There's two reasons he'll do that. One is if you switch judges out, they're less likely to be biased for a region. Another reason you might do it is if you have like a rural place that doesn't have a lot of money, you can put a judge there to see the few cases they have, and then they go to another rural place. That way everybody gets their chance to have like justice administered. It just might take some time. Jury trial. It starts out just for the nobility and the knighted class, but eventually it's going to also be there for common people, where you have a jury of your peers, something we get in America. Grand jury. A grand jury is professional judges who decide if something something's actually a crime or not. And so whenever somebody has an accusation, they would bring it to the grand jury, and the grand jury would decide whether it goes to trial or not. Common law. This is something we've inherited here in America. Common law is the basis that law is made up of tradition, but that tradition is shaped by court systems. And so legislatures have a hard time coming up with specific answers to different things, but courts get thousands of cases all the time. And they all have their own individual nuances. And so judges, with the help of juries, are able to decide what the outcomes of certain laws are. And then once that ruling is made, other judges are supposed to respect that and in similar cases abide in the same way. This eventually goes down throughout time, and we call this common law, or another term for it is essentially jurisprudence. So that means like if this high judge ruled on this for this case, years later, you should do something similar as a judge. You shouldn't just have like rulings go all over the place. It's very chaotic. People don't know what to do. Magna Carta, y'all talked about that. That's when Henry's son, John II, after Richard the Lionheart died, tried to, like, your book's right to say that he was one of the worst kings in England. He got, let's see, so he had a big war with France, and that didn't run out too well. So he lost all of Normandy. He almost bankrupted England. He tried to start another war by taxing his nobles illegally. And then he started taking church property, and the Pope actually excommunicated him, and he had to beg the Pope's forgiveness. And so all the nobility and all the English people were so mad at him. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Because they thought not only was he trying to take their stuff, he was also trying to get them sent to hell. So they had a great big civil war. And then after they beat him up, even his own armies abandoned him. He was basically left with just bodyguards. And he signed the Magna Carta, signing away many rights to nobility. So, yeah, King John, not very famous, except for being infamous. So once again, Henry II, royal court, circuit judges, jury trial, grand jury, common law, Magna Carta. So, and we've inherited these things, not the king thing, but the rest of these things. So, good. So let's go ahead and let's get our definitions down here. Now, don't worry, you're not going to have an assessment or anything like that before the break. We are going to go through a primary source reading, but I think what we're going to do is we're just going to have like a discussion over it for your grade instead of a paper. So we'll see. I haven't quite, I had an idea what it was going to be this weekend, but then I didn't write it down. I forgot, so I have to think about it again. So Henry II, who was that guy? Ariel, do you remember who he was?
He was the conqueror, I'm sorry, read that wrong. Grandson of William the Conqueror.
Yeah, there you go, grandson of William the Conqueror. So we remember him. So, yeah.
He didn't spend a lot of time.
Yeah, he mostly lived abroad in France, where they eat frogs and French fries, I think. Right? They eat French fries and French bread and French toast.
He developed the royal justice system.
Yeah, so he reformed the justice system. Really, that's all we need. Another thing too about this guy is that he's going to make England the richest it had ever been. And he's going to amass a great amount of wealth in the royal treasury without like fleecing his nobles or his commoners. But you're going to see his son, John, is going to just blow it all away. And that's another reason why people are going to hate John. They're like, your dad was so good. He was so good with money. What's wrong with him? So, and of course, his brother, Richard, was like a hero of the Crusades and all that stuff. So, yeah, poor John. So, speaking of John, Jonathan, what was the royal court?
It was. Where did it?
No, it wasn't that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find. Okay. It was a civil court of the king's vassals.
Vassals, yeah. So here we're going to call it the High Court.
Yeah, for the king's vassals, but also had the final say. So that's important because
If a court rules something, then one of the king's vassals could be like, I want to take it higher up. I want to take it all the way to the king's court. You might remember in Roman history, Roman citizens, if they were put under trial during the time of the empire, they could always appeal to Caesar, whoever the Caesar was. And so you see this has happened time and time again in Roman history. It even happened to like Paul of Tarsus, a Roman citizen, didn't want to be put to death. So he appealed to Caesar and they sent him to Rome. All right. Circuit judges. And I want to hear this from Hunter. What was a circuit judge?
I don't know. It was really weird.
All right. So think about a circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And what about it?
So a circuit is basically kind of like, it's like a loop, right? Kinda. So the judges are making a,
Right, so you see the one that he judges like most of the people, or like
but they also
They went around,
traveling judges, yeah.
went around and took cases from different counties.
yeah,
see that hood.
judges who traveled. And I know this doesn't sound very important to you because, you know, you're in high school and you're like, I don't go before judges that often. Right.
Yeah.
I already have.
Well, you know, things happen. But, and there's lots of good reasons you can be in front of a judge too. Who traveled
From region to region. So what they're doing here is they're getting rid of a lot of the lawlessness of the feudal ages. Whereas like some of the king's vassals, they might be tyrants over their serfs, you know? They're making it uniform too. The king's law is the law of all the land. You won't have separate laws from one little feudal lord to another. To region. So uniformity of law. This is important for a nation. So England's becoming less of a hodgepodge of little serfdoms and more of actual England, right? And this is something that's already happened in France, more or less. All right. So
jury trial. Jury trial. Hey, Logan, what's jury trial?
When a case came before the king, judges, and circuit. I don't know, it says when a case came before the king's judges on the circuit.
Isn't it 12 nights?
12 nights, yeah. So you're right. That could be part of it, but he's going to institute to where a jury of 12 nights help the judge
So this is a thing in his decision. So, like, you got the circuit judges, they're going around the country. And when there's a case, he'll bring up 12 local knights. And the local knights will act as the jury. And he'll be like, and so both sides will make their evidence, and the judges will listen to the knights from the local area. They're like giving local input. And that way there's a local connection, but there's also the uniformity. There's the voice of the king coming down too. So it's not tone deaf to local like needs and customs and stuff like that. They're still listening. And so that's why it's supposed to, and eventually it's become a jury of your peers. So the knights might be like, yeah, this crime looks really crazy, but we know that guy and it's not as bad as you think, or they're exaggerating or something. You're like, oh yeah, get rid of him. You know, the guy's like creepy. So that's good. It's good. You want to have local input. All right, grand jury. Shelby, what's grand jury? No, that's not your God. So what's grand? I mean, if it is, that'd be strange. I don't know about that religion. All right, so
Wasn't it like over everything? Like kind of.
well, kind of, but a grand jury is
The jury of all juries.
it's before you go to court. It's basically before the trial is a way to put it. Yeah, before
Weren't
trial.
they really powerful too?
Uh-huh.
They were really powerful.
Yeah, they were grand.
Oh my God. It was
They decided whether
like that was the one with the crime. Like they decided like the crime. Something
Yes.
With the crime.
so decided if a matter was worthy of trial. So somebody says, hey, he stole my pig. And then you go up before the grand jury, and the grand jury is like, you get the person, hey, you stole my pig. The other guy's like, no, I didn't. And so they're going to ask a couple of questions. They might ask neighbors, be witnesses. And if the neighbor's like, he never had a pig, that was a dog. They're like, okay, that's not worthy of a crime. Get out of here. You know? So they're like, there was no crime committed. You know? Or they might say, yeah, the guy smells like bacon. He totally ate your pig. So we're going to have to put you on trial. You know? So they're going to decide whether a crime took place, and then the jury in the trial will decide the fate of the crime, guilty, not guilty. A grand jury doesn't determine guilt; they determine possibility. So that's possibility. In modern America, a grand jury usually goes with it. Usually says, "Okay, it's worthy of trial." Because you usually have prosecutors who are going to bring it up. They don't bring up crimes they don't think they can convict on. So, that's more for government class. All right, so the common law. Edwin, you've been like on a roll. What's common law?
The law that was over England. Kind of.
Yeah, but how do they make it?
Well,
So, say uniform law. Made, and it's slowly made. It's like almost organic. Over time, there's one word you could describe it as. It's a T word. Something you inherit. Think about something you do with your family on the holidays. Tradition. It's tradition. Built by tradition. Not so built by tradition. And what it is like we've done it this way forever, so it works, so we keep it. Nobody made this law. No king, no senate. It's how the people have done it. And because we've done it this way, there's been peace. So it's what the whole English-speaking world's legal systems are built on, except for some Canadian law, which is also built on the French system. All right, so the Magna Carta, last one. What's Magna Carta in Latin for?
big
Great job already.
Big cart. Yeah, the great charter. Big cart. Okay, so yeah, the Great Charter. And just real quickly, what does it outline?
Basically, to keep the king in check.
Yeah. So limits royal authority and grants some rights. And I say some because the rights were mostly for the upper crust of society, the upper crust of the church, the upper crust of nobility, the upper crust of the freedmen. And so This isn't, it's not universal, but it's going to be the first time you have in writing in the Western world since the fall of Rome. People's individual rights, protections from the central authority. And so that's going to be a big deal, Pickle. And we're eventually going to add on to that. So that's the cool thing about rights. Rights grow. Unless something bad happens and they all get snatched away, which does happen, rights tend to grow gradually. All right, kids. So that's going to end our lecture for today. We're going to pick up tomorrow with the next 2 chapters, and then again on Wednesday. And then no lecture Thursday or Friday. I'm going to have a document for you instead. All right. See you later. I don't remember what I was going to have y'all read.